Hi, I'm Nathan. I go by Peteparker, and every week I do comic book reviews because that's the rule around my house. If I want to keep buying them, I got to review them. So this review is going to be for Ultimate Fallout number 4. This is the famous USA Today targeted or told about story that includes the new Spider-Man, which everybody has probably seen. This is very spoilerific, obviously. But there's also 2 other great stories in here as well. Now, if you haven't been reading the Ultimate Fallout series, the first issue is very heavily centered on the funeral associated with the death of Spider-Man, and then the next 3 were all kind of alternate stories about how this is generally affecting the people in this universe, and then it's kind of spread out and been more like, what's everybody else doing in the Ultimate Universe? You know, when Thor thinks of Spider-Man for a split second, what is he doing right now? When Reed Richards is floating out in the negative zone, what's he doing right now? Which is all interesting and good, right? It's definitely development of these characters that are very different than the main universe within the Ultimate Universe, but at the same time, it reads a lot like an annual where you get a very short glimpse of each of these stories as far as each one goes. And I think, interestingly enough, the real news here is not the new Spider-Man or the new person dressing as Spider-Man, although his powers seem very different and very interesting. The real news is the very end when it becomes apparent to, I think it's Carol Danvers, Valerie Cooper, that the United States government is going to be outed for actually creating mutants, which I had totally forgotten about in the Ultimate Universe saga or whatever, that when they talked about Ultimate Human and Ultimate Origins, all of those talked about creating the super soldier serum or whatever based on mutants back a long time ago. So it's really nice to see a lot of those big elements that have been building this universe for a long time continuing to play a part in reality, and they're not just brushed under the carpet as an old story, but they're continued on as far as that's really important, so that's really good. I found the Reed Richards story kind of interesting, but having not read the whole situation there, I started it and then lost track of how he went so bad and what's happening there. I really lost what happened to him and how he's become the way he is. Basically, he seems to want to solve everything, which is very much like Hickman's run on the regular Fantastic Four. And then he's adopted a bunch of kids or created clones of kids here that have suits very similar to the Future Foundation, which I think is really cool. It's really cool to see similar things happen to similar characters in a different way. It's really kind of a play on each other, and while it's nice to see brand new ideas and go a different direction, it's also nice to see the same ideas thought of differently or engineered differently. So this entire book is better than the previous Ultimate Fallouts that I liked. I really liked number 1, and then I disliked number 2 so much that I totally skipped number 3. And then you have to buy 4 just because of the new Spider-Man in it. But and what are my thoughts on the new Spider-Man? I don't think it matters. I think it's the same. I mean, he's definitely going to have some powers exploration. We're going to get to know him. He's going to have a new supporting character roster. So it's worth tracking, and I think it's going to be a great story because there's all new stuff to jump in on. And that's really a good place for people who haven't read Spider-Man before, who want to get in on the ground floor. They can start with a brand new, fresh character that doesn't have anything associated with the backlog or whatever. Maybe a small bit of the origin story, but you don't have to worry about that because, you're 1 issue or 0 issues in right now, and you're going to be okay if you just jump on now. Of course, the artwork's great on all of these. It's done by, a bunch of different... Pacelli did the Spider-Man one, and then I think... Yeah, I don't recognize it. Lanning for sure. Anyway, the art's great and consistent throughout the whole thing. It's definitely worth buying and picking it up. Now, do I think this polybag issue is really worth it? Probably not. It's probably not even necessary, but it sure helped Marvel generate a big national post. And I've heard that every time that they do that, the sales on that particular book go up by a lot. So, and I imagine that the polybagging, as evidenced by the death of the Human Torch and the death of Spider-Man polybagging, has produced better numbers also. So I would imagine that this clear polybag on this seemingly inconsequential issue, kind of inconsequential, kind of big news, depending on what your viewpoint is on it, is a test to see if the polybagging really does anything for sales along with the national news media, which they know does. So, very good. It's still like an annual. It's still broken up into 3 different stories. It's still not like a consistent story for the whole thing, so I really don't like that aspect about it. I can't give it a 5 out of 5 if there's something that I don't like. But everything else is really great, and I think there's much bigger things going on in this book than just the Spider-Man situation. So it's definitely worth reading, especially if you have any time invested in the Ultimate Universe and want to keep going with that. So there you go. 4 out of 5, Ultimate Fallout number 4. If you want to check out the rest of my reviews, I tweet out links to them. They're on YouTube. My name is Peteparker on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on Twitter. And then on YouTube, my name is Spidey207 without the E. So check those out. Let me know what you think. Any comments I try to respond to as soon as I can. And be looking later on this week, probably tomorrow mostly, for last week and the week before's comic reviews, because I still have a lot to make up for. In any case, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.